You wouldn't believe the lengths a survivalist will go just to get a good meal. Build a wheel out of sticks. It rotates by the flow of water. Make an automatic chicken roasting tool. This is so much fun. The latest season of Living Alone in the Wild begins. Our first contestant is Joel. He's a returning contestant from Season 7. Has excellent hunting ability. This time, Judge Chris. He was the winner of Season 8. Each player gets a box. They need to use the tools inside. Build an automatic barbecue. It is required to be a device powered by nature. You need to drill your own wood for fire. And it cooks the chicken. Opening day. The three were assigned to different environments. They need local materials. Build a suitable device. Joel's first thought was to build a water car. Today's program is mobile phone materials. The little jigsaw provided by the show is really stingy. It's super hard to use. 2 hours and Joel finally got 2 branches. Easy to rotate the shaft on it. Next, he's going to start making sliding paddles. The material looks simple. It wasn't hard at all, actually. Kelly also wants to use water as a drive. She also cut branches to make water wheel devices. Production hasn't started yet. Kelly's already thinking about roast chicken. She fantasized about the device she'd created. They're going to roast the most delicious chicken. Fans of previous episodes know that. Everything Kelly makes is very elaborate. So can she make a pretty barbecue this time? Kelly crosses sticks to make a wheel shape. Hold a board between 2 wheels. Such small wood pulp. I don't know how much motivation there is. She fastened the small board to it. Soon a wooden wheel was made. You spin it by hand so fast it flies. You don't know what the effect of water transfer is. Amos uses small bamboo as material. He chose a small ditch. It feels like the current is stronger here. He decided to set up a barbecue here. You don't have to look to know it's a water wheel. It worked out pretty well, but with the counterweight. The force of the current doesn't work at all. Apparently, it's not as simple as he thinks. Joel is making with OERS. Kelly is making a spindle. Amos is constantly testing the counterweights. It's obviously not working. The current is really small. Or increase the contact surface of the water wheel. Or increase the flow of water. Amos' first thought was to increase the flow of water. Dig deep into the stream by hand. The flow of water is increasing. It can be driven without a counterweight. I don't know if I put a chicken on it. Time to the next day. Joel's plan for today is to finish the water wheel. He picked a spot where the current was strong. This place should be able to turn the water wheel. It's better than the current in Amos. If that's the creek on Joel's side. So that's the urine canal on Amos' side. Joel is planning where the water wheel will be installed. He thought this position would be more suitable. The speed of the water should be able to drive his little water wheel. He also planned to make OERS out of wood skins. The bark is wide and light. Soon he made only wooden OERS and bound to the branches. Then the water wheel is bound to the rotating shaft. The rotation of the water will move the wood pulp. I can't wait to see what Joel does. Amos looked at the water wheel before him. It just keeps turning. But what did he think was the downside? Amos decided to transform the bamboo paddle. Increase the contact surface of the water wheel. It might work better that way. It does turn faster after the retrofit, but it's still slow. I don't think you can pull a chicken that weighs a few pounds. He decided to find another spot where the current was stronger. Callie's finished building the water wheel. Next, she has to make a spindle. Only a good shaft can make the water wheel work better. She also thought of making a brush. It's for basting chicken. This girl's got a lot of ideas. It's just that this little knife is really hard to use. All the contestants are getting ready for the roast chicken. After all, it costs $50,000 to cook a roast chicken. Callie's got another bunch of sticks. Her water wheel is ready. What are you doing with all these branches? Is she going to make 2 water wheels? Time came to the 3rd day. Amos is always looking for ways to improve. He collected a nettle stick, break it, then weave it into a rope. Today he's going to finish drilling the wood for the roast chicken. I didn't realize building a fire would be the hardest part. After production, Amos decided to switch positions. Because the current can't carry a chicken, he's going for more water. Kelly did make 2 water wheels. That might give you more motivation. And made a brush. Going that high, Kelly came to the bank to make clay balls. She made a mud bowl. It's just a roast chicken. It doesn't have to be that hard. They put the water they had prepared into the stream. Amos picked the big river. The water here is deep enough. Kelly's water wheel looks better. Does she want 2 water wheels to spin a roast chicken? Joel's stream is better, too. It's just that the paddles are smaller. They're all taking the final steps. Drilling wood for fire is the last step. It makes the fire go up. I'm ready to roast the chicken. It's judging day. So, can they get in 3 days? I'm just finishing up a chicken rotisserie. Time is a little tight, but it shouldn't be a problem. First up is Joel's roast chicken. He skewered the roast chicken on a stick, but it didn't turn. Joel digs the water wheel deeper. At last, the shaft began to move. The chicken fell in the middle of the roast. I'm glad I caught it early, or another chicken will be wasted. Finally, the roast chicken can be turned over by the rotation of the water wheel. The chicken is slowly cooked, and it's baked beautifully. A few hours later, the roast chicken is finally ready. The inside is ripe, which means Joel's challenge to the auto roast chicken is a success. Number 2 is Kelly's roast chicken. She put the roast chicken on it, and eventually it will turn. Here's what I can't imagine. This bitch even made an automatic oil brush. The wooden OERs were constantly driven by the moving water. The big fat chicken is also turning on the top stick. Grease while roasting. A few hours later, the roast chicken is finally ready. The meat inside is cooked. It's really delicious. She even made some vegetarian dishes. Callie cooks the chicken to 5-star wild standards. Amos is a little different. He set the device in the middle of the river. Easy to turn, but a fire to roast the chicken. Amos put the charcoal on the side, planning to use the heat of charcoal to roast chicken. Cool down while you roast the chicken. The chicken has been caught in the cold and fire, and bake until late at night. Amos's roast chicken is finally ready, although slower. But Amos's roast chicken is the most beautiful. All 3 players finish the race as required. The result is a device that cooks the chicken, and they're drilling for their own fire. Amos' bamboo water wheel is relatively simple. Use nettles to make a rope for a fire. It was also a very good performance. And the chicken is beautifully roasted. The wooden water wheel that Callie made over here. She built something that Cress had no idea about. If you give her enough time, I'm sure we can make a 3-bedroom living room and a nightstand in the wild. And Chris was impressed by Joel's hand drill. Hand diamonds are the hardest way to start a fire. Every player produced something very good. The final winner is Kelly. She completely surpassed all the players. So what else can we expect from the contestants in the next episode? Look forward to hearing about it in the next video. The latest season of Living Alone in the Wild begins. Past season champions return to challenge. In addition to their great hunting abilities, hands-on skills are also excellent. This time they will take 3 days. A rainproof, non-smoking shelter. The first contestant is Jordan. He was the winner of the 6th season, famous for hunting a deer with 1 arrow. The second contestant is Cress. He made his name hunting with 1 arrow, won the 8th season title. The third contestant is Amos. He survived 58 days in the 7th episode, the player who fished the most. This time the judge is Britt. He participated in Wilderness Alone twice. The first time only lasted 35 days. Runner-up for the second time, hunting ability and building ability are very strong. The contestants will get a box. It contains the tools for this challenge. It needs to be suitable for 1 person. Dry to prevent rain. Keep a smoke-free shelter during fires. Time for the first day. Their environment is pretty much the same. Have a lot of resource utilization. Jordan's first thought was to find a suitable position. He explored the neighborhood. Eventually, I found a position close to the stream. We settled down and started to work. Because the show crew provides half-finished hand saws. Jordan's going to put a handle on the saw first. It's a manual job. It looks hard on the surface. It's not easy at all. Sharpening a knife does not require a woodcutter. Soon a hand saw is finished. Very powerful to use. Even a tree of hard steel can be sawed. Jordan was digging a small trench in the ground. It's mainly used to ventilate the shelter. I couldn't figure it out for a moment. What kind of shelter relies on a small trench for ventilation? Are you sure you didn't dig a urine canal? He went into the jungle again. Look for a hollow piece of wood to use as a chimney. Good hands and good power hunting. He carried many stones by the stream. Put the stone over the ditch. Lay down leaves. Then put the barrel at the end. I never understood what he was building. Is this Jordan's dry sanctuary? I suspect this high guy is playing me. He lit a fire at the other end. The smoke came out of the wood, and there's no smoke coming out from underneath, but there is still a small amount of smoke coming out of the front. This also means that the chimney smoke is not good enough. It's really hard to retrofit chimneys in a short time. If you don't pass, you have to redo it. And Cleese picked out the location for the shelter. He builds shelters according to the wind direction. He's going to use the support points between the trees. Build a sloping shelter. First he thought of making a hand saw. Just a good chainsaw. And the next work will be smooth. He made a better saw than Jordan's. Soon he collected a lot of wood. It takes a few minutes to build a frame. It can hold the weight of a man. Just for the game. You don't have to work so hard. Chris is moving very fast. Jordan chimney. Amos cut down a lot of rattan structures. They're just little sticks. What does he want? Amos is going to make a roof shelter. These willows can be made into a frame. In the first episode, Amos built a basement shelter, although it looks like a grave, but there's a lot of space inside, suitable for one person. The smoke is not good. One night's sleep could dry you out. The way to make it is very simple. You just stick two ends of a tree in the ground. Arch a space in the middle. This tests the toughness of the material very much. It's easy to break trees. Take your time with each branch. It took hours of effort. A framework is finally in place. The affordability is also very good. I can't believe this high guy is having fun. He's lucky he didn't throw him on the street. Time of the next day. 2 days. The Jordan shelter hasn't been built yet. Been working on this chimney. That little pea drain we dug yesterday to get rid of the smoke. There's smoke coming out of both ends. He decided to redo it. Today he begins his second plan, is to build a fireplace. When I saw this hole, I was lost in thought. Jordan, what's going on? Digging a urine canal yesterday. Dig the shithole today. He piled stones on top of the pit. This looks more like a shithole. Jordan came to the creekside swamp, looking for clay to build a fireplace here. I reached down and grabbed one and played with it. He brought back a lot of mud. The mud is somewhat sticky, suitable for building fireplaces. If you use it to grow vegetables, probably a very good one. Jordan's fireplace gets higher and higher. Finally add a hollow wood. What kind of fireplace is that over there? It's like a rocket that doesn't launch. Inside, you can see the bottom. Add a canopy. I have to say the players are really strong hands. Then it was time to build the shelter. Cress has completed the shelter framework. Now, he put bark on the frame. The bark protects against wind and rain. Just building a shelter. You don't need that luxury. That's a lot of tree skin. After laying down a layer of bark, he began to collect fir branches. These branches also have a certain effect on the rain. The leaves are all facing the same direction. When the rain comes down, the rain will run down the branches. So he would use these materials to build shelter roofs. He collected a lot, put them all over the shelter. Cover so thick, forget about keeping out the rain, you can stop a bomb in the sky. The next step is to test for water resistance. Take the shower and start watering. Tons of water went down. How waterproof is this shelter? Here's the surprise. It leaks like a sieve. Obviously, that's not going to work. So what the hell is all this theory he was telling me about? Now he has decided to remove the roof and start again. This is going to be the biggest waste of time. Amos is going to grass the frame. He looked for reeds nearby. These grasses have larger leaves. Enough of them will give us a shelter. He wants to bundle up the grass he has collected. Only in this way can it be sufficiently waterproof. The project looks simple enough, but his work is huge. Amos binds the collected grass to the frame. The principle is similar to that of a cow shed in the countryside. Cattle sheds in the countryside are tied to the frame with straw. When a cow wants to eat grass, it just raises its head and eats. Time came to the third day. Today, Jordan is preparing to start building a shelter. The shelter he built was very simple. A small cone. Put some leaves on it like vegetables. A shelter like this must be waterproof. Then spread hay on top of it. Amos' shelter is half built. He's also building a fireplace. That's a lot to accomplish in one day. You don't have to think about it to know it's urgent. It is very tiring to carry these big stones back and forth. Even if the fireplace is made, it may not have a good smoke exhaust effect. The fireplace isn't ready yet. It's hard enough moving rocks. He's already starting to want to fuck it up. But we still have to finish it for the 50,000 bonus. Chris was fastest on the first day. And now his roof's not even finished. He doesn't know where all this bark comes from. Decided to cover the roof of the shelter. This project is really extravagant. After laying the bark, put the branches on top of it. The shelter looks simple enough. The amount of work is very large. Water resistance must be good. Next is the fireplace. Amos is also in the process of rapid processing. Mainly, his shelter uses too much grass. In the first episode, Amos's shelter blends perfectly with the jungle. And now the shelter he's built is perfect for it. That's really talented. Jordan's got a shelter set up. This kind of grave reclining shelter. There's nothing you can do in there but have sex. They don't have much time right now. Chris is still working on the fireplace. He has this fireplace right in front of the shelter, and it's an open shelter. all finished at the last minute. Amos' shelter is no longer tested. It's contestant vetting day. So will the shelter they create fit the bill? First, the shelter for Cress. His shelter used a lot of wood. Water resistance must have passed. The next step is to test the shelter smoke. After building a fire, the smoke filled the shelter. It all depends on the wind. It's clear that a shelter like this is not what the show wants. While testing the rain, Chris is a little nervous. It's an insult to the bark. Then tons of water were poured on the shelter. If it still leaks, I think Chris is going to get his period. Fortunately, the shelter is very waterproof. Watertight. He was more satisfied. This shelter is actually perfect for summer. It was pretty good too. Personally, I think it's perfect. Amos' shelter is like a cow shed. He was also tested for water resistance. The confidentiality is also very good. There's plenty of room inside. The shelter has good smoke extraction. There was only a small amount of smoke inside. Jordan had trouble getting in and out of the shelter. The shelter has a fireplace. And obviously the smoke is very good. Jordan's shelter has made the fire smoke-free. Water resistance is also acceptable. Amos' shelter looks pretty simple, but it's difficult to build. On the whole, it was good. Jordan did a great job with the shelter fireplace. He put all his weight on the chimney, although the shelter almost, but it meets the requirements of the show crew. Cress' shelter would be the most beautiful. Complex construction, good water resistance, but the smoke doesn't work. So whose shelter wins in the end? Brick chose Jordan's. So who do you think has the best shelter? Welcome to leave a comment. You wouldn't think of a man living alone in the wilderness. How strong the building capacity is. The food we worked so hard to get. How do you cook it? Wild Alone Champion returns to challenge. Tell you how to build a fireplace to cook food in 3 days. The first contestant, Chris. She was the winner of Season 8. He is also a big man who dares to challenge the black bear. Runner-up Kelly. Survived 72 days in Season 3. Is a strong woman. The third contestant, Amos. The most caught fish of Season 7. This time, Judge Britt. Runner-up in Season 5. Each player gets a toolbox after the start. They will use the contents to build a fireplace. The winner will receive $50,000. Fireplaces don't require much. It can be used to bake bread. Opening day. They were assigned to different environments. Overall, resources are abundant. Amos quickly picked a position. There are more weeds on the ground. The first step is to clear the ground of weeds. Amos is good enough too. A straight stick can hoe the soil. He plans to build a stone fireplace. Almost every time he was moving rocks, the stones get bigger and bigger. Amos is nature's stone porter. He dug a big hole, but it's full of big rocks. I just don't understand. Do you have to build a foundation to build a fireplace? Then he went to the river to collect a lot of sand. Sand and stone lay on the stone. Then put a large flat rock. This stone must be the toast tray in the fireplace. Amos is making good progress. Cress is going to set up a fireplace next to the shelter. He dug the ground with a machete. You have to dig a hole to build a fireplace. Looks like he's got a lot of learning in him. I was afraid to ask anyway. Afraid he'll cut me with a knife. Everyone else is digging holes. Kelly is cleaning the weeds. She likes this patch of dirt, ready to pack and take back to the shelter. All around is flat ground. This is the only place where the dirt is piled up. I don't think we're digging up someone's grave. Amos used a lot of stones to build the fireplace. Kelly used a lot of dirt to build the fireplace. I'm just going to see what she makes. Okay. After moving the dirt back to the shelter, the first thing Kelly has to make is a grinder. She actually made Adobe out of dirt. I think she was referencing the idea of Lucas in the first episode. Lucas builds shelters in the desert. It is also made of clay bricks. Either way is good. It's her ability to make things. Kelly put the dirt on the fire to bake. This causes the clod to harden and form. This process takes quite a while. More time anyway. No one worked in a hurry. It only cooks for a few hours. The clods are dry. But that's not enough. Kelly burns the clods directly in the wood. This may make the bricks harder. Kelly is very particular about what she does. You can see that last time we built a little wooden bridge. Fine work earned her the championship. Won $50,000 in prize money. This time is no exception. She's going to take a fireplace to the extreme. Naturally, it takes some thought. Even bricks take a while to build. No one else but Kelly. Time to the next day. Chris went to the stream to collect clay. It took him a whole day to dig a hole yesterday. He carried the clay back to the shelter, then cut a bale of hay. Mix hay with clay. The resulting clay will be more resilient. The effect will be better. This is the mud. Cress was on it for hours. He also collected a lot of vines. The frame for the fireplace. You'd think he was making hunting traps. Then spread a lot of leaves on it. It's going to rain now. He had to hurry up and build the fireplace. Cover the surface and inside of the frame with clay. This fireplace is ugly, but it's not pretty at all. All the players are working hard to build, and Amos's fireplace base is ready. Like a big tray, he collected many large leaves in the field, spread the leaves on a tray, then put a lot of soil on it. What the hell is he going to do? I never understood it. Then he went nearby and started digging, turned the excavated earth into clay. The clay is then further coated in the sand. I do see it. That sand pile is actually a mold. It is mainly used to set clay. Dig up the sand pile when the clay is fired. This will make an empty clay cover. People who didn't know it thought it was a tomb. I have to say that Amos built 2 shelters. They all look very much like tombs. Now a fireplace is like a tomb. Really not sure how to evaluate his aesthetic. And Callie's fireplace is starting to go up. She used a lot of stone and clay. Put a lot of fir branches in it. Then the clay was thrown in. Callie, what is this about? Now she is very much looking forward to the results of making Adobe bricks. When I dig it out, it looks so perfect. She succeeded in turning the dirt into bricks. Kelly put bricks on the fireplace. Cut a floor tile over the fireplace. This should be the base of the fireplace. Next, she has to make a sand mold. That's a layer of sand on top of it. Built the same way Amos did. Once the sand is covered, spread wide leaves. Then cover it with clay. It's very simple. Just have a mouth. Time came to the 3rd day. All the players are building the final stage. We're all set up on the crest side. Like a little grave. That's his level of production. You don't have to look to know there's no chance of winning. Chris lit a fire on the fireplace. This can make the fireplace surface harder. Layer upon layer of hay was piled over the fire. A few hours later, it was finally ready. Open it up, and there's nothing changed inside. Chris put the charcoal in again and continued to bake. This fireplace is simple, but not beautiful. Amos and Callie over here. They're also in the final drying stage. The fireplace surface was very wet. Time is running out. Amos collected a lot of wood to burn around. Prepare the fireplace to dry on high heat. To dry it at this distance. I don't think it'll dry out until next year. Amos is digging a hole in front of the fireplace. Convenient air circulation and drying faster. After basic setting, he dug the sand out of it. Then bake it again from the inside. Callie finished the shell here too. She dug the sand out of it. The structure remains stable. They actually make an oven that cooks food. It's a little different than a traditional fireplace. The surface of Callie's oven is cracked. She had to recreate some clay. Sew it on top. Originally a very ordinary oven. It makes it even prettier. Callie's oven is almost done, but she's still doing some beautification on it. And the oven here at Amos is almost done. Not as elaborate as Callie's oven, but it's pretty good. After all, a grown man wants to be practical. There's no amount of beauty in living in the wild. Amos actually has a bigger oven. You can bake more food. And Cleese is making some last-minute fixes. But I don't know what he wants. Amos also puts another layer of dirt on top of the oven. How is this the same as Callie? And he does some beautification on it. Kelly did a very delicate job of beautifying it. And Amos's is like what? Cress. Oven put a canopy over it. All the players are trying their best. It's audit day. So what was the result of their construction? Amos' oven is ready. Made it in the shape of a bear. Successful ignition in the oven. They also made dough. When the oven temperature is hot enough, then put the dough in and bake over a low heat. How well does Amos's oven hold? If you can bake the dough successfully. It's raining a little now. Amos takes the dough out of it. Very hard. The rain couldn't have come at a worse time. And Callie's oven is ready. It looks very delicate. There's room for wood next to it. After Callie makes the dough, put it in the oven and start cooking. Several hours passed. The oven successfully cooked the dough. It tastes delicious. And Cleese's oven is being tested. Oh, this guy's got a fire under him. He's got a lot of hands-on skills. He ferments the dough with yeast from aspen trees. I hope we don't have to go to the hospital. Chris put the dough in the oven. A few hours later, the dough is successfully baked. Tough enough to throw a dead dog. I still can't figure out what the tarp is for. The dough is cooked. It tastes a little dry. Overall, it's okay. So who wins in the end? Each player's fireplace is made differently. It's very practical. Amos's oven uses a lot of rocks and sand. It was made to look like a big bear. I can see you've done it with intent. And Callie has the best oven. And the workmanship is much higher than Amos's. And she also designs beautiful shapes on the outside. The ugliest thing is Chris's oven. Simple and ugly. Looks more like dealing with the show crew. All 3 ovens meet the requirements of the show crew. The final winner was Kelly. She makes the most beautiful ovens. So who do you like better? Welcome to leave a comment.